And the title of my lesson is Data Abstraction in Java. Why I choose this lesson? It was very difficult for me to find a topic where I can apply CLIL methodology. At the beginning of this course, I was not confident about the application of CLIL methodology in informatics. Then I start with the new first version of this lesson very soon in November, before the guideline of Teresa, because I want to know if it's possible or not to apply CLIL in my discipline. And then the choice was good because, you know, Java is very formal, very technical. I have to find something not so technical, which can be understood very easily. That abstraction is not an easy concept, but I found the way to make the process easy. For this reason, the choice was about that abstraction. Then, what about now CLIL? I was attracted by the 4C. Contents, communication, cognition, culture. And I thought about, but what kind of contents in my lesson, what kind of communication, what kind of cognition, what kind of culture? I have to express this, I want to express this. And if you look at this image, the contents, we have a book and there are a butterfly. We don't know if the contents arrive to the students. The contents, if the contents arrive to the student can acquire a new cognition. This is good. If our lesson can acquire new cognition to the student, this is a good lesson. Otherwise, just knowledge is not good. Then I made my the objective of the teaching, or the learning outcome, if you want to know, about contents, communication, and so on. Contents is the knowledge they acquire with my lesson. Then class, object, inheritance. These are in summary. But when I write communication, I discovered that in my lesson, the language of learning was very stressed. There was a focus on the language of learning. Then, what the language of the class, object, this is the vocabulary. And also some key phrases. Properties applied to an object. A message is sent. Then this is the language of learning. But what about the language for learning? There is nothing in my material. And I need it, I suppose, because we want our students work in pair, work in group. And what language they have to use? I don't know. I am not an English teacher. My students have a low level of English proficiency. Then, how can I manage this? And then I think it's important for me to prepare also this. How many properties are shared among all the people in the image? What are they? What behavior today? Ok, già.
Rimasto.
Rimasto.
10. Mancano 10 minuti.
Ok.
Time.
Then, scusate. Mi trovo meglio con questo. This is the plan detailed. Then the except was this, not very long, but very dense of contents. And I split this contents in 3 micro contents learning objectives. For each, I have a learning phase, a consolidation phase, and then an evaluation phase. For each phase, there is an assessment test, because I need to control the progress of students during the lesson and not just at the end of the lesson. Then there is an assessment test for each lesson, for each phase. Now, how start this lesson? The first lesson I show a table with the geometry example, but Teresa suggests me, why don't you look at an image or something which is not technical? Okay, then I find an image which several persons of several ages, several sex, and they will discover what have in common, what property and behavior they share. First of all, because the first thing is the class, to define the class. How I define the class? Sorry. Okay, they have to choose the name of the class from this list. They are all workers, they are all human beings, they are all sportsmen. The only thing is human being. Then, in this list, there are a list of names, which are the properties of these people, and a list of other words, some verbs, which are the behavior. Then, what property, what behavior, and they have to consider the property shared by all these people, not just one group. Of course, this is the classification mechanism. Several objects, if they have the same property and behavior, they compose a class. In this table, student should write the property and the methods. On the now the opposite process, instantiation mechanism. I have a class. Class is an abstract concept. It's not concrete. It's such as a blueprint from which we build objects. Now, from a class I have to derive objects. In this table, they have to write the object Rose and John, we have in the image, and no, this is the other one. Okay. What is the name of John? John. What is the birth of the birth date of John? You have to put something which is the sex, which is what is important here, that the properties are the same, the objects are different. We have John dot name, Rose dot name. But what is different is this, the value. Then they are different in the value, but they are not different in property and behavior. The other thing is that in Java, this is the way to apply a method to an object. John.beborn. Now, assessment test. I give them all the terms. Now I want to know if they understand. This is just a complete sentence completion. They did this very quickly. Okay. The second micro contains class generalization and class specialization. There is a process from the bottom to the top, which is a generalization process. This means that students is a more general class of high school student, and human being is a more general than student and worker. Another process is the specialization from the top to down, from top down process. This means that worker is a specialized class, student is a specialized class of human being, and is a, what does it mean? That an high school student is a student. Is the verb to be, is a student. Student is a human being, worker is a human being. Then, some terms. Human being is a superclass. High school student is a subclass of student. Student is a subclass of human being. Now we have to learn in which way we have to use this tree. A student, which property have? Also a worker. Then student is a specialized class of human being, worker the same. We have to discover what have. Then they share the same property and behavior of human being, but what have of specific, what is different, and they have to show to find in that list you have the property which are specific for student and the property which are specific for worker. Then we have to, I want to know if, no, this is a learning phase. In this learning phase, the language is a scaffold for contents because they don't know how to apply this tree. But there is just one way to match the two parts of the sentences. Then they have the contents just to matching the two parts. But now I want to know if they understood the process. Then an assessment test. This is a tree, and I ask them to insert new classes. And if they put this class in the right way, I know that they have understood. Otherwise, I have to go back in the lesson. It's no other way. The assessment test for me is good not only for students, in order to control the progress of the student, but also the quality of our material. Then they have to choose property and method not from the list, but they have to create a creative exercise. If they have understood, they are able to do this. Now, the third macro objective. We have this three is, I say, an abstract concept, but if we talk about object, the concept is concrete. Then they have to give a name to all the people in the image and to insert them in the right place. It's not important if there is not an only way to put, because they can think this is a worker for me, this is a student, and so on. But when they fix this, it's important to know what property and behavior now we can apply to this object according to these three. Now, consolidation phase. This is to exercise, choose the correct word between two, and here I had a problem with my student not for contents but for the language. Then I think that in next lesson I have to have some part in Italian, because it's impossible, because I have a low level of English, a 1, a 2 at most. And then if I don't, in order to don't lose the contents, sometimes some Italian I need to introduce. This was funny for them. Dinosaur tragedy. Because I introduced both language and contents error. The contents was okay, the language no. They don't discover any language error. Then the evaluation phase. It's an individual work, of course. It's not so difficult because I help them to give the answer. It's not the classical evaluation. And it was good, no problem with this. At the end, my reflection. I say before, I was not confident about CLIL for informatics. What now? After this material, the experiment in my classroom. Now I am confident that I can give, I can produce material for other areas of my subject. But what I have learned, the lesson, what I want the student learn, but what have I learned after this course? For example, scaffolding. Implicitly, we do scaffolding, of course, in our lesson, but implicitly. Now, when I were producing this material, I discovered that sometimes when I just explain, the lesson could be dense of contents and of terms sometimes. Then the students are confused. And another thing that I learned, the lesson plan. The lesson plan is necessary. Mainly in this, mainly in CLIL, but also in our lesson. Okay, the other reflection I was already said you about other consideration. Okay, I am in time.
5 over. That's
Okay.
okay.
Sorry.
Vai, vai.
Credi.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, my lesson is quite simpler than that of Francesca. And I already said about my lesson in the peer training I did for my colleagues. So we can repeat some concepts. The main problem we have is the time to develop the materials. So I thought to ask my students to develop for me the material, and I described it very quickly, the content of the CLIL methodology, gave them introduction about the topic. They watch a very short video about the circulation of electric field physics, and I proposed them to make groups, to choose an activity, and to develop one exercise at choice, free choice. The activity was connect the sentences, fill in the gap, and other simple activities. I have to say that the students were at a good level of English, so my work was simple. They helped very much me. Okay. This is the introduction part. They have I arranged following the suggestions of Teresa and Ian, the age of learners, average English competence in the class, prerequisite knowledge, and the micro content learning objective. This topic, in my opinion, it can be divided into three concepts, little bit chewable. One is what is a closed and oriented line. The second is how is defined this concept, the circulation of the vector field in general, and why conservativeness of electric field implies that circulation of the vector is zero. I don't want to speak about the content because this is not a lesson of physics. So we can go forward. And I have introduced a prerequisite concept about vectors using the one direction picture, so that they know the boy band and remember easily the connected concept, that is the direction of the vector. And after I introduced the first micro content learning object, what is a closed and oriented line, with an exercise to be done in pair, discussing about this 1, 2 and 3 and 4 figure. Ma questo mouse? Okay. So they can discuss about the 4 type of circuit of line. These are closed and oriented line, is defined a verse on the path. This is closed but is not oriented. This is not closed and not oriented. The second exercise wants to make the student reflect about the fact that the circuit has to be broken into little pieces that can be considered straight. This is necessary to introduce the scalar vector, the scalar product between the vector of the field and the vector of the direction. Okay, so I have used a little joke. Connect the points. That is the same thing that we do on the circuit, okay? To divide into pieces. This line, the line who draw the cut, is divided into little pieces. This is the sense of the activity. All other activities was developed by the students. I just correct some little mistakes, no other. They were very good for me. This is the connect the sentences. We are here in the second micro content learning object. So we have the definition of the circulation of vector field. There are two exercises. One connect the sentences, one fill in the gap. I've paid attention to take the language very straight, simple. I try to use all the knowledge of the language they already have, and there are a few words that are new, that are specific of physics, but in the complex they used all that they know, already know. All the verbs, without being banal, the verbs were simple, were of common use, so they can concentrate on the content. Okay, this is the closing. Okay. Okay, the last micro content learning object is the connection between two concepts of physics, the circulation of a vector field and the fact that when the circulation of vector field is zero, this means that the vector field is conservative. I'm sorry, this is physics. So there is another exercise, and then I made an assessment using some site that Jan suggested us. These are crosswords. They have to find words connected with the argument. So This is literacy, specific literacy of the physics. Electric field, vectors, circulation, conservativeness, and so on. This is dinosaur. They do the this is not developed by the student. This is developed by me and taken to the student. They made it, no problem. This is another way to use the crossword. And my lesson is finished here. One lesson. I have done another lesson, but just the initial part. Sorry, Anna. Okay, this one. This is the lesson with about ellipse that I revised. I revised it after suggestion by Teresa. Okay, the lesson about ellipse, Teresa suggested me that the skill of follow instruction is very important, because if students are in England, they have need to follow some instruction. So developing this skill is very important. So at the beginning, the lesson about ellipse tell them how to draw an ellipse with a pencil, a string, a piece of cardboard, and so on. And after there are the other exercise to distinguish between shapes and okay, other exercise about the words connected with the figure of an ellipse: major axis, minor axis, the focus, the singular, foci, the plural, and so on. After they have done this, they are, I hope, they are able to connect the words with the definition. This is handed here. And after that, I have also the material. We have done the assessment in classroom, and I have the material. Someone is very good, someone less. At the end, I have prepared for them also an assessment test about arguments that we treated in Italian. Okay, but the assessment test I made in English, and they have done quite good. Naturally, we are at the start with this methodology, so I know I'm not perfect in the developing the material, nor in making the activity with the children, with the students. But I work hard to be better in future. At last, but not least, I have done a thesis, a project work for un corso di perfezionamento Unipegaso che devo tenere il 17 di febbraio. I have to make the final exam, and I thought to speak about the methodology, CLIL methodology, and as one of the didactic strategies that we studied in this course. So there is another work I do with CLIL. Okay? Quanto ci ho messo? 20 minuti.
Tantissimo.
Aspetta che non ho finito.
Non lo sappiamo.
Yes, I think we wait for people to stop the half hour.
Good evening, everybody. I chose this topic, agricultural revolution in the Middle Ages, long time ago, in October maybe, when after some important lesson of on CLIL methodology, and we tried to use CLIL methodology and to experiment this new methodology for us. And I chose a topic of the third class because it could be very difficult for me to start with the topic of the 50 class, because as we know, we have to use the CLIL methodology in the next year for the student and for the student of the liceo, in my case of the liceo scientifico. So I started with the lesson plan. The topic, the agricultural revolution, the Middle Ages, is developing in 3 lessons. It's developed in 3 lessons, and the questions the sentences that I would love to hear from my students are how peasants transformed the European countryside during the High Middle Ages to cultivate more land more efficiently, increasing crop production, obtaining many positive effects. Peasants were able to develop agricultural innovation, new farming methods, new cultivation techniques, tools and systems. What was the difference between the 2-field system and the 3-field system? What were the consequences of the new farming methods and technology introduced during the agricultural revolution in the Middle Ages? And in this slide we have the expert 1, and there are indicated the age of learners, 60 years old, the level of their English, lower B1, and the objectives. The students must learn the core concept expressed in excerpt 1, the key agricultural practices and innovation that revolutionized the medieval agriculture and its consequences. There is the Italian book named here because the student can find the same lesson in their Italian book. The prerequisites are the students have to know what is the meaning of the Middle Ages and to which period of time it corresponds. The first lesson corresponds to Micro-CLIL 1, Basic Elements, New Farming Methods and Technology in Agriculture Practice. There are 5 exercises in the learning phase, and each exercise has its time, and there is indicate the kind of work, if the students work in pairs or if the exercise is an individual work, or if they work in small groups. And we have also thinking skills and language skills. We have also consolidation and assessment phases. The exercise 1 and the exercise 2 is known because maybe my colleagues can remember we use these 2 exercises in a class activity, and they suggested me something. I presented in the class activity the exercise 2 as the first exercise and the exercise 1 as the second exercise. My colleagues suggested to me that it is better for students to start the lesson with exercise 2, and because the descriptions are useful to learn the new words. In exercise 1, so we have a table with 3 columns where they are written, and the first column new farming method and technology, and the second column description, and the third column advantages and effects. And the students have to find the mixing word and put these words in the spaces in the table. The missing words are in the box below. There are also a picture glossary. We know that pictures are and images are very important because the vision is very important for remembering, for identify some words. The vision is we talked about the vision also when we learned about brain rules by John Medina. The vision is one of the 12 rules that he stated in his book, Brain Rules. So I think that it's very important to use picture, and I used the picture in the first exercise and in the second. In the second exercise, this is an individual work. The first exercise is work in pair because it is a little bit difficult, and in the second exercise they have to choose the alphabetical letter corresponding to a picture and individuate the name, and they have to also write each single word in under each picture. The third exercise is an individual work. The student have to complete a map. The fourth exercise is individual work, and exercise 5 is an exercise in small groups. They have to compare and discuss what they learned above and their exercise. So I introduced this map because I want to say during this time, since October, I revised my work. I removed something, and I added pictures or exercise, and I tried to reduce the information and use the text in a different way. Before I used the text, I put on the page the text, and it's finished. But it's not useful for the students. For the students, it's useful to learn by doing. So if they can underline the text, or they can choose words, or they can draw some words or information they know, the role of the student could be active and not passive. So I tried to keep in mind this information. For me, very important, because we know in CLIL methodology we have to use our creativity. It's not important the content only, more content, more details. It is important also the language. And if I had to change the language, sometimes the language was very difficult for students. So I tried to simplify the words, the nouns, so they the students can understand better. Exercise 6 is a consolidation exercise. Exercise 7 is assessment. The second lesson begins with the lesson plan. The except 2 is farmer expanded the size of their farms by draining marshes and cutting down forests to cultivate more land more efficiently. It was then necessary to develop agricultural innovation, the new heavier plows. Peasants were able to make use of horses, and as a new source of power, they began to use metal tools, sickles, scythes, etc. Female peasants benefited from the introduction of water mills and windmills. So there is, in this second lesson, there are more information about the metal tools, and they have to read the text and underline the words that indicate the agricultural innovation. The students know some words, some innovation. Here there are more information. Look at the red words here, signs, longer, such as size. These are important words that students should know. So here the focus is also on the language. It's important to introduce some words that they can use in their language skills. And here I added in this slide, this picture particularly, I added the name plowshare, or in this, hoof. These are technical, specific words that student maybe doesn't know, and so I added the name. Maybe it could be useful. And so the images for sickle and scythe, the female, and so